Welcome to our 38th CALLERLAB convention here in Las Vegas. Today's April the 19th, 2011. And this is the Specialty Get Outs seminar. My name is Tim Marriner, and I'm going to be your moderator here and / panelist. And with us today, we're in the capable hands of Mr. Campbell, Randy Dougherty, and Mr. Bill Harrison. Let's give them a nice hand for coming in and sharing their ideas and thoughts. As previously mentioned, here's kind of what we have. There's handouts amongst the room. Share them for this session, please, because obviously we don't have enough for the entire room. But you may and can obtain these same handouts at the front desk, the registration desk at the home, what is our temporary home office. You can get them electronically, or you can possibly get them printed out to you so you'll have it as a handout yourself if you prefer to paper type. Okay? Here's sort of what we have envisioned for you. With each of our panelists today, we're going to share with you how we come about the ideas and how we derive and write our module get-outs. And that's the first order of business, is just kind of share with you how we do that. Then we're going to briefly share with you, you already have them as handouts, the material of some of our get-outs that we want. It would be redundant for us just to read those. But what we want the room to do, and we try to get the room organized where we'll pass the microphone around if someone can assist with that, and would be able to come to a point and maybe share your get-outs or a get-out idea that you have in mind. And the more we can get those and everyone participating, I think we're going to really have a full-packed session. Take us right up towards the end of the hour. So with that in mind, we'll start with Mr. Campbell, who will hopefully be able to share with us his idea of how he starts writing choreography or get-outs.
Okay. To be perfectly honest, most of the get-outs that I obtained from someone else. And I think this is a very good source. A number of years back, I decided I was getting rather stale on what I was doing. And so this, if you'll take a look at it, was the original arrangements and formations chart that CALLERLAB turned out. And I went to that chart and I've put in numbers, and I tried to come up with a way to an element left out of each of these arrangements. Now, admittedly, if you take a look at them, a lot of them are not practical, because if we do it, our dancers aren't going to understand. But these were the possibilities I came up. The ones that are in the boxes are the ones that I couldn't figure out how you'd ever identify the relationship and sequence. All right? But it's a good exercise and mentality to try and figure out how to get it. To do that, you've got to have a starting point. For me, my starting points when I sight call or whether I use modules are 0 box and a 0 line. All right? And then what I attempt to do is go from there to one of these get-out points. If when I want to do something special, then I take it to the dancers and say, do you like it? Okay? And if the dancers say, yeah, that seems like a cute way to do stuff, that's fine. So let's take an example. If you flip over in the back, and I'm going to go through this fast, so if you've got more questions, corner me after it. But basically, I started out with a sequence that I knew would get me to one of these positions, and the positions are facing lines 1 and 2. And I'll be honest, I picked a couple I thought were easy. I've got a sequence, string, module, whatever you want to call it, that I know will carry me from 0 line to number 1. And that sequence is pass through, wheel and deal, double pass through, centers in, and cast off. Then what I did was take a look at the resulting formation, and that was fine. The resulting arrangement, that was fine, but the boys were out of sequence. So what do I do? Where do I fix this? The best place to fix it is on the start. And in this particular case, the two guys that really needed to be moved were the ones in the opposite line. And so as I write out the module, flutter wheel, pass through, wheel and deal, double pass through, centers in, cast off. Excuse me, I need to find where I got the right one. Do. I screwed up. I didn't put it in. You fix it on the front end. Just don't look at that. You fix it on the front end by basically doing something that is equivalent to a flutter wheel. This puts the guys in the facing lines out of sequence. Then you run the second part of it. If you get there, you should be back in sequence, right? And so this was a fairly easy resolve. Now, you can do equivalents to a flutter wheel. Right and left through, two ladies chain. Anything else you want to have. You can get as fancy as you want to in plus, challenge, advanced, anything that's going to exchange those two men and those two lines. All right? Okay, the second one is a little bit more complicated. I've got the same sort of a setup. I go from a zero line. Then I go through a sequence of pass through, wheel and deal, everybody U-turn back, centers in, and cast off 3/4. This then puts us in version 2, or arrangement 2. The two guys on this one were also out of sequence, or the men were out of sequence, but the people I needed to exchange were in the same line. All right, now what I do is put in something that at least looks pretty doggone awkward from the standpoint as you do bend the line, flutter wheel, bend the line. Now, that is awkward movement, but all that tells me is I got to exchange the two men. A more smooth way to do it would be pass through, bend the line, right and left through, two ladies chain, pass through, bend the line. But I've got the frame that I'm going to build the get out on. Now, I hope these guys have got better ways to do it because I still do it this way by pushing these things around. I work on a Mac, and the only computer program for moving people around was not built for a Mac. The two are there. I do find this is very convenient because I've called 56 years, and I can move these things around pretty doggone fast. As you can see, I also lost one. All right? And that's the basic method I use. I have tried something called uncalls. And uncalls to me are mental torture. And so what I try and do is go to the line, try and figure it out, some way to get to first the arrangement and the formation. Formation and then arrangement. And then try and plan what I'm going to do from there. Then this becomes a frame where I can put in equivalents, I can put in anything else I want to do to dress it up. And the frame is as short as I can get it in moves to get it there, and it does not necessarily take into consideration flow. Flow can come later. And with that, I'll pass it back.
Thank you, Cal. Randy, can you share with us how you write these?
Very slowly. I don't do the computer stuff. I do checkers. So... but I'm mainly using my CRAM systems, and I don't want to go into CRAMs if you've never heard of it, but Tim asked us to send him some get-outs from zero lines, zero boxes, and across the street. So if you find the handout that says, it's on the opposite backside of ambidextrous. So it says Specialty Get-Outs by Randy Dougherty. The very first one I forgot to put in. If you're in a zero-box get-out, it's called Alaman Left. Did you skip that? I thought I had it written on there. No. All right. So I figured that out because I had the appropriate hand availability because I just got to my zero box by saying the head's the left square through 4. So I did left, right, obviously. Super good, right? So the one that I have here is a touch a quarter and the lady run. I know my corner is still on my left side. I could have just skipped all of what it says there and just said, Alaman left, right? Correct? Everybody still with me? So, if you do a square through and then figure out the availability on number 4, that'll be your fourth hand. Alaman left there. It's just disguising where they're at all the time, okay? The next one I have is make an ocean wave, scoot back, and then I say 1/4 of a circulate, and everybody quarter in your home. You're not very far away when you're in a zero box. You're, 2 or 3 feet away from home. All of these is just kind of keeping track. Going down to the fourth one, it says pass to the center, and then double pass through. Can you make some notes here, guys, for yourselves? Because this is what I would call if I was at a mainstream dance. But if I was doing a plus dance, that pass to the center gives you the paired up couple on the inside, and the outsides are with their opposite. You know what that setup is called? It's a Dixie Grand get out, isn't it? So all of this other stuff is like a Dixie Grand. I could call Dixie Grand right after that, but this is what I put down on the paper. Double pass through. Put an asterisk right above the centers out, bend the line twice. All of that is nothing more than a peel off. And then continue. Pass through, half tag, 3/16 of a circulate and quarter in. That's very precise. Yeah. Well, I haven't really figured it out as far as steps or beats, but anyway. So the centers out, bend the line is the same as peel off, and then the pass through, half tag, and then the 3/16 circulate. If you didn't want to be at home, all of that stuff from the half tag on is a 3/4 tag. So put that above it.
I've got a calculator. That's almost pi.
Thank you. All right. So from half tag, 3/16 circulate, put that in parentheses, and that's the same as saying 3/4 tag, and then the get out is not your home. The get out is right and left grand. You all still with me, or are you still digesting breakfast? All right. You're still where? On the 3/16. Okay. All of these, it's really a matter of building them up for the next level also. Go down to the next one, the zero line get outs. I play with the theme of circulating in that. And sometimes I'm circulating a quarter. Sometimes I say 9/30 seconds. It's just a game. Get them to laugh or think about it. A couple of ones I really like, across the street box get outs. Look at the, if you look at the very first one, it says slide through, square through 2. We all know that a get out from across the street box, that's the head square through 2, and you're looking at right-hand ladies. Everyone's looking at right-hand ladies, right? Give me a nod. All right. So you could do slide through, square through 2, or right to the partner, pull by. Alaman left. That's what we teach in our beginner school, okay? If you did slide through and a right and left through, this is not a trick question, but I want to see if you're really alert. Slide through and a right and left through, then the square through doesn't go to 2, it goes to, this is a quick group, okay? And then a right to the partner, or you could use the new modernized call called trade by. Not barge through. All right. The next one is kind of cute. Square through. Now, remember, we're looking at the right-hand lady, okay? Square through, and on the third hand, swing through. Boys trade. Everybody scoot back. All 8 circulate 3/4. Quarter in your home. Okay? So you actually had to start walking and just walk by your partner facing in your home. Okay? Skip down to the second from the bottom. This is a neat one, too, and I'll give you some other equivalents for it. I'm talking about where it says pass through, center step to a wave, center girls trade, and you 4 spin the top, and the others separate, do a right and left grand. That is a cool one. That's really cool. Put an asterisk by that one. That's a Randy original. Okay? I stole it from another guy. But he didn't call it like that. This is what he called, okay? He did heads to get to the across the street box. He did the heads touch a quarter and the girl run. So now those people are sashayed, right? Then he did a pass through. And then he had a pass through with the outsides, okay? Then he stepped to have the outside sashayed on the outside. Keep that in mind, okay? How many advanced callers do we have in here? This is a good get out for you, okay? So the outsides are sashayed. The insides have a wave. Have you call a left swing through in the middle from a right-handed wave. You got to step to a wave and then call left swing through. So then the center girls trade and then they turn the guy. Now here's the get out. 6x2 AC deucey, 1.5, right and left grand. I think I just lost some of them.
That's all right.
Anyway, okay, let's go on.
Just go on.
Let's go on.
How you write them?
That's how I write them. I figured it out from a 6'2" AC/DC. Took all my people, and I figured, I don't want to. They don't know 6'2" AC/DC. I don't want to have them partner trade on the outside. I can just separate them. Now go to the ambidextrous get outs by Randy Dougherty, and what this means is pretty much if you can do it right-handed, you can probably do it left-handed. If you can do it the right way, you can do it the wrong way. You can do it clockwise, you can do it counterclock. Okay. Very first one is from a zero line. Boys extend, swing through, center boys trade, center boys run, new center boys hinge, Alaman left. How many people have been using that? Just Hunter. Okay. Hunter, I heard you use this same sequence 3-4 times last weekend. I want you to broaden your horizons by thinking, what if you weren't in a zero line? What if you had everybody with, instead of having your partner, what if you had everybody with the right-hand lady? You know what would have to happen? Instead of just saying the center boy hinge and then Alaman left, you'd have to have the men revolve one spot. So you could do a diamond circulate if they were with the right-hand lady. So instead of one get out, I got two now. What if everybody had the opposite lady instead of the zero line? What if everybody was with the opposite lady in sequence? Instead of doing one diamond circulate, they'd have to do how many? This is a quick group, too. What if you weren't calling plus? What if you couldn't say boys diamond circulate twice? Then you could do it this way. If I knew I had an opposite lady line, everyone's in sequence, the men are in sequence, the girls are in sequence. Again, go through my sequence. Boys extend, swing through, center boy trade, center boy run, center boy hinge. Boys, check your diamond. Oh, I'm not calling plus. I just remembered that. Check your diamond. Ignore your diamond. Girls straight ahead, pass through. Girls with each other, find the new girl, trade. Boys, see your diamond? Oh, ignore it. Everybody Alaman left. So that works there. All right. Now, the next one is what I'm trying to get across. Yeah, Danny, question? Oh, no. We're not doing advanced. That's a different program. Yeah. If you want to do a question or a comment, come on up here. Yeah, Danny's already figured out that when you do swing through center boys trade and the center boys run and the new center boys hinge, all that equals is switch to a diamond. After the boys swing through, slip, and switch to a diamond. So if I'm calling advance, I'm not going to direct all that. I'm going to say, boys swing through, slip, switch to a diamond. Now I'm doing the same stuff, but I'm just using different words for them, okay? So my ambidextrous thing is go back with your zero line. You have your girl on your normal side. She's your partner. Instead of having the boys extend, have the girls extend. Left swing through, center girl trade, center girl run, new center girl hinge. And now notice I've added something. Why did I say center girl hinge and spread apart? Can anybody answer that question? Hunter, come up to the front and answer that question.
Run, Hunter, run!
I hope you have a good answer.
Because you told me to. He did. No. Because it would be awkward for those two girls to do an Alaman left because they have a left-hand diamond.
I had to explain that to him twice, but he got it. See, when the girls do it, and the boys had a right-handed diamond, it was simple to do Alaman left, wasn't it? Well, I'm not going to do the Alaman left if the girls are in a left-handed diamond because the center two girls have their right hand free. So what I need to do is have those girls slide way apart. Now their left hand is close to the corner, so it's Alaman left. Okay? Simple as that. So when you have these get-outs, when I learned the first get-out, boys extend, swing through, slip, boys switch to a diamond, whatever it is, I have 4 new get-outs by knowing that one, because now I can do one with the opposite lady, right-hand lady, corner lady, so on. Now that I know girls extend, left swing through, it's like learning 4 new ones, because now I can do with, for instance, if I start with a right-hand lady, what if I'm in a right-hand lady, and I half sachet everybody? Boys are in sequence, girls are in sequence. Watch what's going to happen. Instead of having the girls extend to the left-hand wave, the boys do what? Extend. Boys left swing through. Center boy trade. Center boy run. New center boy hinge. Okay? What am I going to do for my get out? Normally, I had the girl, they're still in the left-hand diamond, right? I had the center girl slide apart, Alaman left. But if they're in a left-hand diamond, because I rotated the girls, now I have my partner there. I don't have to slide them apart. I can just say right and left grand. So from the second one, I have 4 more get-outs. From that one, if I have sachet, I have 4 more get-outs. I got 16 get-outs all of a sudden from learning one new little memory routine. Thank you very much.
Excellent. Bill, tell us how you write them.
Well, pretty much they've covered most of it. In all honesty, the one that we already know modules and Randy's method as well. I think we all pretty much do that. In my case, I like to find the movement that I want to have it to the grand right and left or to the left allemande, and then I'll work it backwards from that spot. My next project is finding how to get to that same place in the best way and how smooth it can be and not so much recognizable that I'm setting people up. My challenge for me is I remember these things to a point, but I also like to challenge myself to be able to sight to the place and then be able to use the get out. Okay? I think one of them here, if I can find it real quick, is a diamond chain through one. Okay? So I took the diamond chain through and I worked it backwards. So I knew what I needed to be in order to be able to call that and get the grand right and left. Okay? That is basically what I do. I also like to take movements because I call other dance programs. There's a movement called double down. And I happen to be working with it, and I decided, geez, it would be nice to have a grand right and left out of double down. Now, if you don't know what double down is, I'm going to make it simple from parallel waves. The in dancer that's facing in and the adjacent dancer will do 2 split circulates. And the other dancers will do an all 8 circulate. That's pretty cool. So I said, geez, I'd love to really have a grand right and left out of that. So I thought, wow, what do I need to do? Well, I knew I had to have the end dancer and the adjacent dancer paired. Okay? And that they were going to end up being in sequence with the unpaired people when they did their all 8 circulate, so they'd be all a nice sequence. So I was able to do a situation where I believe it was from a 0 box. And I believe I could step to a wave and recycle and then touch a quarter. Now here's the catch. I have to know who the end person looking in and their adjacent are. Are they the heads or are they the sides? If they're the heads, then I could say, out of the realm of using the call double down, I could say, heads, do 2 split circulates, sides, all 8 circulate, and you got your grand right and left. If the in-facing dancer is paired and they're the sides, you say sides, split circulate twice. The others, all 8 circulate, and you got your grand right and left. Those are the kind of things that I kind of look for. Same thing with the out across the street box. If I'm working something and I want to do, well, here's one for Mini Busy. I'll work the Mini Busy backwards, find out where I need to be, and where can I go, and how am I going to apply it the best way that it's not going to be something that you're going to recognize me setting up. Okay. A lot of times I like to challenge myself, be it if I have memorized something or not, and I'll say, geez, I'd like to just, as I'm calling, I'll say, I'd like to do a wheel around to a grand right and left, and can I put the people together? You know, that's another way. The problem is that when I end up accomplishing that, I'm going to have to stop and write it down so I know what I did. I'm only kidding, but I like to do it that way as well. So pretty much I do using backwards and also using other movements that I may know from my vocabulary. And then I can break them down all the way through mainstream, just by using those movements, because all of our movements are based off our basic mainstream calls. So it's pretty interesting. That's it.
Good. Thank you, Bill. I'm pretty much the same way when I write material. If I'm writing something, I have an idea and I want to get out, usually I start with a baseline of a call. And so if I'm saying, okay, spin chain through comes to my mind. Well, we don't use a lot of spin chain through. Wow, can I get a spin chain through that'll take me to a right and a left grand? So I have an action where I write, well, yes, yeah, you've got one right there, don't you? I have one too. Randy has one on his too. But the idea that I'll take the call first, I'll put it on the base of a piece of paper, and I have checkers out there, and I know I want it to a right and a left grand. So I go to the right and left grand get out spot, and I back them up through the action spin chain through, and then after that, I look at where I have my checkers, and I'm thinking, where can I place it, as Bill said, to a recognizable position in some part of the stations of the square? It could be a partner line. It could be an opposite line. It could be right-hand lady lines or corner blinds or boxes, zero box across the street. Wherever I think I can memorize a portion of material, and it has to be small chunking, that I can remember. Everybody, and we've said this before, do you realize why our telephone numbers in the U.S. are 10 digits? Because it has been found out that 10 items, 10 things, is about the capacity each of us can remember certain things. So numbers that are longer than 10 digits are very difficult to memorize. It takes a little more work. But we do something called chunking. We know that our area code is 757 or 803 or 301. And so that becomes one number rather than three numbers. We have that one number now. And then the next three digits might be 853. Okay? And that becomes, instead of three individual digits to us, becomes one thing. Okay? So the idea that telephone numbers are small, our get-outs, our modules that we write, can't be more than 10 calls. If you write a get-out and it's more than 10 calls, it becomes an entire sequence now. And it takes a long time for you to remember that get-out on the fly. And you're calling along and you go, oh, I'm in this particular arrangement, so I want to use that spin chain through get-out. But you have to now give a 20-call dissertation to get to the right and the left grand. It's no longer a get-out. It's just a big piece of choreography. All right? And the element of surprise probably is limited. If you can get to where it might be 2, 3 calls, boom, boom, spin chain through, right and left grand, you might have more of an effect of an off effect of the whole room going, didn't see that coming. Okay? And not just to a right and a left grand, but to a Alaman left spot or to a your home sequence. Or I've seen get-outs just next thing you know, it's promenade. And go, oh, my gosh, I have my partner, sure enough. And you go right into it, and you promenade around the ring. So these are a great way of writing these types of get-outs. By the way, the spin chain through one that I used, that I figured out, was if you're in a across-the-street box and any equivalent of a right and a left through, okay, from there, spin chain through takes you directly to a right and a left grand. There wasn't any computer program that told me how to do that. It was my writing it down on a piece of paper and figuring it out. Writing with checkers, working with checkers, or diagrams. I think each and every one of us grew up with being told we had to diagram everything before we called it. And we did. We did a lot of writing of diagrams and saying, here the heads go here, and this was even before checkers, and I hate to say that, but we diagrammed things and had pages and pages of this stuff. So when it got to the point to memorize the routine, well, we'd worked it enough. You now know that a head square through 2, right and left through, spin chain through, what have you, is now to that right and left grand get out, okay, or any equivalent thereof when you get to that point. So this is how we write them. And some of them are shared. Some of them are we research other callers. We hear an idea. You look at your program sheet and say, I don't use a lot of turn-throughs. How can I better utilize turn-through to an Alaman left? Or maybe a left turn-through to a right and left grand. You figure it out backwards on a piece of paper or check it out, diagram it out, and do that. If you go to a program and just hit resolve, there's no passion to that. And body flow usually stinks. Okay? So think about how we've done this. Any more comments about how we write them first before we share the mics?
On the one that he just gave you, knowing a little more about where they're going to end up when they're doing the right and left grand also tells you, is it a long promenade? Is it a short promenade? Are they going to be home after the right and left grand? It's to your benefit to figure all that out. If we did what I call a flip-flop across the street box. So, for instance, sides do a right and left through. They're across now, right? So to get to across the street box, the heads are going to go into the middle, turn and face your corner. We're all looking at the what? Right-hand lady. Now call right and left through. Now call his get out, spin chain through. Now call right and left grand. Do you know where they're going to be? One step from home. That's even better. And the same line, if you go to my ambidextrous get out, I want to show you how I use that. The zero box get out. You see the very first one? Spin chain through, girls circulate twice. You should know that they're going to get the partner, aren't they? They can do a right and left grand right there. I know where they're going to be after they're done with their right and left grand. Okay? Ambidextrously, if we did it step to a left-hand wave, left spin chain through, instead of having the girls circulate twice, now the boys are going to circulate twice. Who are they going to meet, gang? It's got to be the partner. I know because it's ambidextrous stuff. But the handedness is not for a right and left grand. They're meeting their partner with the left hand. So simply say, lady run and promenade. Now, if you can figure that out, where the lady run promenade, or if you can have lady run and do 1/4 of a circulate or 1/2 of a circulate and bend your home, that's even better. Now, from those two get-outs, figure out how you get those other 16 that I was talking about, the other 14. Once you get those other 14 up in your head, you've only really learned one get-out. From the one he just gave me, I've got now 16 more get-outs up here in my head because I can sashay them, I can get into that setup. Thank you very much, Tim.
You're welcome. Cal?
What I'm hearing across the table, and I'm very pleased to hear this, is build your modules short. Build a frame. Build a frame to go from one point to the other as short as you can make it, and then use equivalents. Over the years, equivalents have been one of my best friends because I build a short frame which I can retain in my head, and then I can dress it up with short equivalents. And the equivalents can be anything. They can feature a specific basic. They can feature something that is in flow pattern, but you can cycle it in the middle of it. And every module and every equivalent becomes almost anything you want to make it just by putting in equivalents. All right, equivalents for what? Right and left through, two ladies chain. Randy mentioned a bunch of things that are above mainstream. But these are points to where you can cycle through a little loop with an equivalent and get more out of it than you would be able to get out ordinarily. But equivalents are a fantastic tool.
Thanks, Cal. And folks, these aren't site called. These get-outs are modules that we have stored in our module box. And we might be just tooling along site calling, and then we decide to ourselves, I'm in a position where I want to go to this get-out. And then I'll move them and maneuver the dancers to that point where I want to use the get-out, and then I'll apply the module. I'm not site calling to a get-out. In other words, it just doesn't happen on the fly. Very rare are we calling along and you go, right, left grand, out of nowhere. You see, it was something that was set up and planned so that we had it in our head. Another thing is we're using these get-outs and we're describing them right now in patter part of our calling. But as Randy alluded to, we were talking about knowing where that get out will take you. You can also apply these to singing calls. And you can utilize the position of where they're going to be on the grid of the square to find when they're there, then how do I get them and how long is the promenade. Now, if I can make it a 16-beat promenade, and I know that I can swing my corner, so the get out is to the corner now, not to the partner, and I can make that happen in the lower left-hand southwest grid of the square that I'm seeing envisioned in front of me, then I know I have a 16-beat promenade all the way around the ring. But if I do it in the northeast quadrant of the square, it's just an 8-beat promenade, so it's a short promenade. So knowing ahead of time where the get-out will take you will help you make and write singing call get-outs in order to be able to make it. Now, those have to be even more short, don't they? Because you have a lyric to go and sing and to apply. So just kind of more information about how you can apply these to singing calls. And folks, again, we have a theme here of entertainment, right? And these get-outs are some of the entertainment factor of what we have when we call patter and use our singing calls. They don't have to be real complex. They don't have to be 9/58ths or what is it, 9/96. No, yeah, 3.14.459 point. Okay. But the idea is you can write them and have them and use them at your will when we're not. Now, you have the handouts of some of the things that we offered you as suggestions. Can we get somebody right up front here or anyone who wishes to share some ideas or some get-outs? Does somebody have some get-outs? Come right on in. Do you have a get-out that you use that you would love to share? And what we'd like to do is make this a sharing session through the rest of it. Unless anybody has a particular question, but line up behind Danny and just come on in and share your get-outs with us, please. Tell us who you are, where you're from, and then tell us the get-out. Just recite it, and that's all we'll do. What we can do is we can compile these, maybe, and provide them on the website later on, or somehow we make it work so that everyone can have these available. Danny.
I'll share two quick ones. This one I wrote that... Oh, Danny Payne, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. Sorry about that. I love to use this get-out as an at-home get-out. And if you're site calling and you can just simply cite the number one couple into the southeast quadrant of the square. It doesn't matter whether your lines are east-west or north-south, as long as the number one couple is in the southeast quadrant and there's 0 lines at that point, okay? And so you can do that. A lot of you can, at least. Most of us can. From there, there's a short sequence. Past the ocean, ladies trade, and you can either use a girl's fold and peel your top here, or you can use a spin the top if you're calling at mainstream, depending on whether you're calling plus or mainstream as the next sequence. And then I have the center wave identify themselves. The very center wave, and if you need to have the girls drop hands with each other to do that, that's fine. But the center wave identify, and then you have them do the same thing. Either the girls fold and peel the top at plus, or you can spin the top if you're at mainstream. And from there, you can either slide through, and you're home, everybody's home, or if you're at plus, explode and bow to the partner, which works out very nice to end up with an at-home sequence. The second one that I'll share real quickly is just if you're in 0 two-face lines, and this one I stole from somebody somewhere, I don't know. Research. Yes, research. But if you're in 0 two-face lines and have your number one couple in the southwest quadrant, okay? And you can either bend a line and touch a quarter, or you can crossfire. Those are very nice equivalents, depending on which program you're calling at, because the crossfire simply a bend in the line and touch a quarter. And then circulate once from your columns, and centers trade and roll, and the other boy run, and everybody's home.
Pass it right on down. Thank you. Pass it right down.
Mike Callahan from New York. I can't remember a sequence of 10 things. So I limit myself to 5, okay? And just a few cute ones I use. If you have a 0 wave, 0 box to wave, all 8 circulate once and a half, box to net, right and left grand. And if you want to use, like the heads into the center, face your corner, make an ocean wave, do a relay the deucey, that brings you back to your corner on the other side, and then you say all 8 circulate once and a half, box to net, you're home. Another one from 0 lines that I like to use is center square through 4, ends Alaman left, everybody right and left grand. But you got to be careful because the centers are half sashayed. A corner line, if you pass through and tag the line and face in and square through 4, you can come into a right and left grand. Again, it's a half sachet square through 4. And the other one, 0 lines, a nice get out to Alaman left, if you're calling plus, is right and left through, Dixie style to wave, AC deucey, Alaman left. And that works out really good.
I don't know that I have anything good, but yeah. I'm Bob Elling, San Leandro, California, Riverboat Records. Just a couple ones that I've gotten great mileage from. Simple box, corner box, right? A do-so-do to a wave or mega wave. All 8 circulate once and a half. Everybody swing through. Boys run. 4 ladies chain down the line, and they get a kick out of it. You're home. Nice resolve. Book's full of that. Anyway, we all do coordinate, and we probably say coordinate, bend the line, slide through, Alaman left, right? Why not coordinate? Now, I'm not sure. I think it's a square through 2, but it might be a 4. But coordinate, tag the line, face right, bend the line. I think it's a square through 4 and a right and left grand. Totally catches them off guard. That's because you guys aren't using it yet. But once you do, I'll have to write a new one.
Dee Doherty's brother. 0 line, touch a quarter, coordinate. We sight call that all the time. But do you know where they're at and who they're with and what quadrant when you get done with it? Thank you very much. You've done your homework. They're in a corner line. If you bend it, now you're in not a two-face line like he corrected himself, but now you're in a corner line. So it's just as if you had the heads pair off and star through, right? So you're doing ambidextrous. Get your 0 line, left touch a quarter, close your eyes, coordinate. It's a left-handed one. They're going to be in a, what, Danny? No, they're not. Not in my dancers. It's the same thing. They're in a corner line, but instead of being right face, they're what? They're left. Bend it, roll away, circle left 5/16 and you're home.
I'm Bob Elling again. Unfortunately, Tim, I wasn't here for the whole thing, but when I did get here, you were talking about the diagramming and stuff. God, I've used reams and reams and reams of paper. And about 4 or 5 years ago, I met Reinhold, who writes CALLERLAB, and I told him to program this program so I could reverse call a call. So I set up, I use his program, and I say, ocean wave. Oh, I want to do a crossfire into a right and left grand. So I say, back up a crossfire, and it shows me the setup. And then I go, whoa, okay, now what's the easiest way to get there? I back up another call, and you're right. You can keep it very short. If you're using crams, you know that you've just got a group of 4 people to determine what station it is, and you're 1 call away from setting it up. You know, it's so simple. But I would like people to note that CALLERLAB will do this with checkers for you. Or you can spend hours on the table drawing diagrams, which I don't do much anymore. Okay?
I don't know about you guys, but I wake up with stuff. Oh, Paul, Angus, New Jersey. I wake up with stuff in my head and I have to work it. I like Dixie Grand because it's not used that much. So I thought, well, how do I surprise them with a Dixie Grand? And what I came up with was you get into the setup, I don't know, from a zero box, you do a swing through boys run Ferris wheel. Now you're at where I want to start from. If you do a slide through, pass through, or star through, pass through cloverleaf with the centers, they're walking around. It brings, when they finish, they're going to be in a Dixie Grand formation. So what you do is when you call the cloverleaf, the others, as they're coming in, say, others start a Dixie Grand. And as they're pulling by, the cloverleafers will just come in for a landing just in time to continue the Dixie Grand. It feels sweet. I tried it on a floor last week, and they really thought it felt good. So thought I'd share that.
Francois Lamoureux from Henderson, Nevada. Just to follow up on what Bob earlier said with the touch a quarter, from the zero line, touch a quarter, coordinate, everybody's with their corner, right hand two-faced line. From there you would have boys run, extend to a right and left grand. That's the normal get out there. Just a slight variation of the whole thing is touch a quarter, coordinate, but the girls do not trade. Instead, the girls hinge, flip the diamond, extend to a right and left grand.
Nice. Tim Marriner, Rock Hill, South Carolina. One that I like is referring back to the Dixie Grand item, is to go from a corner line, and let's put it in the southeast quadrant or southwest quadrant of the box in my head. Okay, if you can see where that's at. From that corner line there, if you pass through, tag the line, Dixie Grand, and pass one by, you can swing your partner. Everybody's at home. And so the thing is, it's a double pass-through formation, completed double pass-through formation to do the Dixie Grand. It's also somewhat sashayed because you have two boys pulling by and two girls pulling by on occasion. And then I'm doing an extension of one pass by. Everybody pass one by. Because at the Dixie Grand, at the end of a Dixie Grand, what formation are you in? A circle. So if you pass one by, you're just passing by the people along that circle. But it actually will take you to a swing, and the swing reorganizes the sashayedness, if you will, of the folks. So you just wind up with that pass through, tag the line, Dixie Grand, pass one by, swing, you're at home.
Since we're on the Dixie Grand, I'm Bill Harrison, Maryland. Anytime that you want to do a pass-through to an Alaman left with the center people, so have the centers pass through Alaman left, instead, double pass-through Dixie Grand. Boom. So, just thought I'd throw that one in.
Yeah, I love it. This is Bob Elling again. When you start hearing stuff, that's when the mind starts clicking. Dixie Grand, I love it. One year I was up at the Nationals, it says, you can't do do pas so because the people couldn't do it. So I had to go out to the main hall and call do pas so, and not a single square broke down anywhere. But I use this little get out, and I love it. Again, simple formation. Your box load 4, ready to get out, right? Pass through, trade by, box and at, do a Dixie Grand, right, left, right, partner left, do pas so, you're home. You can use it in a singing call, and the do pas so replaces the promenade. You can sing them while they do it in the courtesy turn, and it times perfect. If you need a progression, you add a 4 ladies chain 3/4 at the beginning and use the same sequence, and it times. Thank you.
Keith Ferguson, Saratoga, California. I did not write this get out myself. I was at a dance about a year ago, and somebody called it, and it caught me so totally by surprise, and I loved it, and I've used it since. Harlan Kerr was the guy that called it. But what was important wasn't so much the get up, but what I think it led to in my own thinking. But in those rare cases where you have people promenading and you realize they're out of sequence, if that ever happens to you, call something like heads wheel around, heads arch. It has to be, the archers have to be the same ones you had wheel around. So heads wheel around, heads arch, sides dive through. You may need to remind the heads that the dive-through does include a California twirl, and then promenade home. And I said, that was really neat. But then I thought, is that proper or legal? So I went to this organization called CALLERLAB's website, and they had definitions, and I looked up the definition. One of the examples in the definitions was exactly that from lines, that you can do certain designated people arch, the others dive through. And then from there I began looking at other definitions and discovered there's a lot of neat stuff in those definitions that you can kind of build get-outs around that are things you may not think about otherwise.
Thanks, Keith. Tim Marriner, Rock Hill, South Carolina. I got a question. Why is it that, what's the get-out for Dixie Grand? Well, no, not the get-out, but what's the, no, not the setup. What does everybody call at the end of Dixie Grand? Alaman left. I hate that. I hate that. What's the surprise? You call Dixie Grand, everybody knows it's going to be to an Alaman left. So that's why the pass through and swing is cool. And also, instead of this Alaman left, why not, can't we just say, left touch a quarter, boy run, or all 8 spin the top, using, of course, they'd have to use the left hand. So all 8 spin the top, starting with the left hand. You want to help them out? Okay? So that's a use. And now look, Dixie Grand, we know, is mostly called directionally. So why call it Dixie Grand if you have a mainstream floor? Now you can just say, everybody right pull by. Those who can, left pull by, or right pull by. Let's go through. And you don't have to do it to the Alaman left all the time, okay? So be creative with how we utilize some of these calls. Cross trail through was dropped off our mainstream program primarily because it was a boring get-out. Everybody was calling Alaman left after it. Okay, no one had anything else or a better use for it. So why not from a corner box or from a zero box, excuse me, if you called a right and a left through, that we could call cross trail through to a right and a left grand. Okay, and I know that's an advanced application, but just to give you some ideas, start thinking outside the box on these calls a little bit.
Gary Felton, Columbia, Maryland. I write get-outs because I want wow out of them, and I steal wherever I research wherever I can. I got this one off the internet. Thank you, Joe. The get-out is girls on the diagonal, pass-through, right and left grand. That's all I got out of the internet, and then I wrote a way to get into it. Turned out from a 1P, 2P line, I can do a flutter wheel, pass-through, wheel and deal. Centers veer to the right, and there's my get-out. Well, that's a long way for the girls to go. It's a long trip. Then I found out that, well, if I don't do the veer to the right, I just have the girl walk the boy dodge, and now they're halfway there already. And the girl's on the diagonal pass-through. I'm at a right and left grand again. I discovered about 2 hours ago there's a challenge call for that. But you remind, yeah. I wake up to these things. I like to write spin chain through for something other than, oh, we're going to have the boys do the spin chain through and the girls just stand around and supervise. So I write it the opposite way. And I wrote it originally for a singing call 20 years ago from a box 1-4. If we do a swing through and spin chain through, the difficulty level just went up because the girls are working. Now I can tell the boys to stand around and criticize. Boys, supervise them if you dare to. And then I can recycle, and I'm looking at my partner. I have all kinds of options from there. I can do an 8-chain 3. No, that's wrong. I can put 3 more in there. That's still not right, is it? If I add 2 more, I'm getting closer. Add 1 more and do a left Alamand. And I just played with them on the get-out, and all I did was an 8-chain 1. And then Tim was doing Dixie Grand. If you start with a corner line and you don't want to do a left Alamand, do a pass-through and a wheel and deal on the centers wheel around. There's a little bit of a wow with the wheel around. They think about that. And pass through. Now, there's people facing in the middle, people facing out. I want to get the centers into an ocean wave. And so but I want it left-handed. I'm going to have them touch a quarter and follow your neighbor. While they're doing that, have the others U-turn back. I have a normal couple on the outside, left-hand wave in the middle. Those in the middle, left swing through and begin a left Dixie Grand. Left, right, left. Now I have a right hand. It happens to be to a right and left grand or a swing. But it's to do something with Dixie Grand besides that. I'll quit there.
Mike Sikorsky, Mesa, Arizona. If you have the dancers facing a corner, and it doesn't matter if it's a zero box or not, just everybody facing a corner in sequence, and then you do the following set of calls. Just you can have them step to a left or a right wave. It makes no difference. And then just if you have centers trade, centers run, and then Ferris, you got to watch how they're doing the Ferris wheel. If it happens to be all the boys coming to the middle, the next call is centers pass through. They're facing the corner again, but now you got all the boys paired as partners in the middle. You can do a touch a quarter, scoot back, extend, right and left grand. You can also do a touch a quarter, boys run. They've got their corner, boys circulate and promenade or home. So you've got those two. Now, if it happens to be all the girls coming to the middle, you have a couple of choices. You can have the girls pass through, touch a quarter, extend, right and left grand. You could have them star through, boys circulate and promenade home. If you are lucky enough to have the girls coming to the middle and you happen to be calling plus, instead of having the girls pass through, you can have everybody veer left, extend, tag the line 3/4 and right and left grand. All that from there. Now, if you happen to be boring, and there's one more. If you happen to be half sashayed and you're coming in, you can Ferris wheel, centers pass through, everybody pass through, right and left grand. So if you happen to be boring enough that you've just got that regular couple to where they're coming to a standard couple facing zero box, the setup that Christopher Columbus brought over, that one. If you happen to be there, you can say touch a quarter, girl, run around the boy and circle left, which makes it a little bit different. So if you happen to be in a zero box and you don't even like that touch a quarter and girl run and circle left, you can simply step to a left or right wave, set it up again, and do something you'd like to do better.
Bill Harrison again. I was given the task of doing the advanced side of this. I hope that you would still look at it, even if you don't call it advanced. My point here is a lot of us do all 8 circulate once and a half to a grand right and left, and it's from an ocean wave. I have one here that creates an inverted line to an all 8 circulate once and a half. Okay? And everything in this here you can use at mainstream except for one call because it's advanced. And it's swing through. You have to be across the street box. Okay? It's swing through, recycle, pass in. So take the pass in and just say pass through, face in. And then continue on with square through 3. We have lines looking out. The centers run. Now, when the centers run, the ends are facing and the centers are looking out. When you do the all 8 circulate once and a half, the ends are going to pass one, turn a corner, and they got your partner by the right. The centers trade for the one, step into a right-hand wave. You got it's a different way of doing all 8 circulate once and a half. So I didn't want you to think that you could just say, well, I don't call advanced. These may not be useful. Take a look at them and insert some of the mainstream basic things to equip it. Thank you.
Don't forget what Calvin said about taking equivalents. All my get-outs, I have equivalents for every level beyond that. If I know I'm doing a swing-through, turn-through, at advanced, that's a swap-around, pretty much. If I want to do a get-out that I know a swing-through, turn-through works, I know equivalent for that is a swap-around for me. I challenge some of you to try to, we talk zero lines, zero boxes, across the street boxes, but there's a lot of formations that we haven't even touched on today, and that'd be like a lead left box or a lead right box. Okay? Right material, because those are easy to see too. If you have the heads lead left, that's a lead left box. Everyone's got their partner. The number 1 man's looking at the corner. Who's the number 4 man looking at? His right-hand lady. Okay? And you can see those lead left boxes and lead right boxes sometimes on the fly while you're side calling. If you do a star through, I still consider that like a lead left box because now I have his girl and he's got what? My girl. If I got his girl and he's got my girl, I consider that a lead left box type setup. I know if I slide through again and right and left through, I'm right back where I started from. This get out I've used, and it's been researched by other guys that have used it, abused it. But it's a lead left box, slide through. Everybody touch a quarter. Everybody circulate once and a half. Center 6, circulate once and a half. That gives you a couple as a couple and a box in the middle. You all visualize that? This is where the water gets deep. You say, all the heads, raise your hands. They'll raise their hands. They can see each other. They're in what I call a distorted, obtuse diamond. In your obtuse, distorted diamond, heads only, move to the next head spot. They'll do it. Give credit for some of the dancers being more than the weakest one on the floor. If you're always calling for the weakest dancer on the floor, that's all you're ever going to attract. Anyway, after you do that, then you put a little showmanship and say, okay, girls, this is a sex check. Girls, raise your hands. They raise their hands. Girls, in your obtuse, distorted diamond, you circulate. They do it. They make it. You say, sides bend, heads face in, you're home. Pretty cool, right? If they make the distorted, obtuse diamond. If you have the heads do a right and left through first, and you did that same sequence, would it work? You better say what? No, it won't work. You're going to be out of sequence. So, when you have the heads in their little box, and before you were saying heads face in, now just say heads identify your box and trail off, and everyone bend to look in. You're home. I took that plus get out and now just made it NA2 get out. You see how I did that? Hope you did.
I'm Hal Barnes from Bowie, Maryland. I don't have any get-outs for distorted obtuse diamonds at all, but I know he's a hard guy to follow anywhere. You know that. Here from partner lines out of sequence, past the ocean, all 8 circulate, spin chain through. The ladies turn back and circulate once, and everyone promenade home.
Denny Payne, Oklahoma City. I also have no obtuse diamonds. Thank you, Randy. But this is quick, and we've mentioned, it's been mentioned several times about circulating once and a half and meeting your partner. I like that to happen at home, and the quick, easy thing I use when I'm siding along, anytime I've got my outside couple at home and the centers can pass through to an Alaman left, okay? Simply double pass through and track 2 at plus. All 8 circulate once and a half, slide through, you're home.
Grandpa speaking. This is Cal Campbell. We started out with memorized figures. We moved to J. King. J. King had 4 exit points. 0 line, 0 box. Take a 0 line, star through, square through, 3/4, you got trade by. Take a 0 box, star through, square through, 3/4, and you have back-to-back lines. That was the base we started on years and years ago. Okay, I don't know about you, but I'm 73 years old, and I feel like standing out there and getting in a chair and standing up because a whole bunch of this stuff is going right over the top of my head. For the stuff you want from me, I wrote 2 books on modular calling. If you go to cal@eazy.net, I've taken everything I've got on the modules and turned it into either Word files or PDFs. They're free. And there's probably 100 or 200 get-outs in that file. And you're welcome to use it. They're all mainstream, and you got to remember that book was written in 1985. But there's some neat stuff there. What? cal@EAZ, Z for Z, for you Canadians, Y. If it bounces back, look at the S and change it to a Z. Just send me an email that you want either modules or Word files, and I'll send them to you. It includes get-outs, includes setups, zeros, and get-outs from 0 box and 0 line. It was written in a time when it was a lot simpler.
Great. Super Cal. Thank you. Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. I've always wanted to say that. All right. Entertainment. That's entertainment. Yeah. Another something that might help out too, talking about modules. If I'm in a 0 box, and if I step to a wave, and if I have the centers trade, I have one coupled paired, and I have one couple unpaired. Can you see that? If I call an all 8 circulate from there, I have inverted the active couples. If you do not believe that, checker it out and see. Does everybody understand if I say, I want you to do a recycle to a 0 box? How I would get there from a 0 box, I would do a slide through, a pass the ocean, and I want the girls to trade. From that point there, a recycle will bring you back to a facing 0 box. Okay. If I set it up and I know that I can slide through, pass the ocean, centers trade, and I'm a recycle away to an Alaman left, inserting an all 8 circulate will have no effect. It is a invert of the active couples. I'm still a recycle away to get to the Alaman left. Okay? So if I'm leading up to something. So if I know that I'm there for a recycled Alaman left, that's good. But the flow of a recycle to the Alaman left isn't the best, because your couples are sort of veering rightward, and the Alaman left is a little crisscrossed. You've got to come back to it. Now, that might not seem like a big deal to everybody, but in the minutia of the flow of things, it does. It does matter. So why not call the boys cross run, which means the ladies in the center will have to slide apart to open the door, and it's right to the Alaman left spot. So I now have, as Randy said, I've built 2 get-outs from the same thing only by simply adding an all 8 circulate in there, which did nothing. It was just an invert of the active couples. Right? So just think about those and check those out too. This is winding up where we're about just 2 or 3 minutes left in our session. So are there any questions to any of the panelists or any of the folks that, do you have any questions? Yes, questions now.
I'm Hal Barnes from Maryland. I know a lot of get-outs, but when I get in the heat of battle, they all desert me, and they're not there. Do some of you guys have that same problem? Yeah, and so my question is this. At what point in the process do you figure out which get-out you're going to use? Do you think right ahead of time, hey, I'm going to do this figure, and at the end I'm going to do this cool get-out? Or is it the kind of at the moment you recognize something? At what point do you settle in on which get-out you're going to use? That's my question.
I learned from, one of my mentors is in the room, Ken Bauer, and I watched him do his thing, and he had a 3-ring binder with so many notes on it, and he had them all laying out there on the table, and he would think of his get-out by looking down, and he could see what he was going to do. So I'm in the same way, Hal. I don't know which one I'm going to do until, hey, I remember that one, and now it's there. And over the years, I've watched Ken. You still pretty much use your cheat sheets down there, don't you, Ken? But you wear glasses now, don't you? Yeah. He's not reading them, but they're there. They're somewhere. It's just like I have, every time I call a dance, with calling up through the higher levels, I can't remember what calls are what calls, so I have a list there in front of me so I can see, hey, don't call wheel through at a plus dance, you know. So I use the little cheat sheets out there.
I'm a little old-fashioned, as you can easily imagine. I was taught to call by themes. In other words, every dance had to have a theme, and I had to have ready for my mentor a plan of what I was going to do during the night. And so when I got to the get-out, I've got cards that are sitting there that are part of the theme. And I can glance down at the card, and if I can get the first 2 words in, I've got my get-out. And I keep my get-outs, like someone else mentioned, I keep my get-outs short. so that if I'm in trouble, and I keep oftentimes them as simple as I possibly can, I would say most of my movements in the get out are composed of basic calls plus one featured basic. Sometimes two, but it's only one or two. I would never attempt to put 3+ calls in the get out.
Yes, Bill Harrison again. I still use the same method of written, little notes, what have you like that. But I also like to challenge myself to say in an evening, geez, I'd like to be able to see as I'm calling, what do I need to be in to do a trade buy to a grand right and left? So my challenge to me, personally, is to dance to people. But what I'll do, in all honesty, when I have that idea and I have that moment break when I'm not calling, I might diagram real quick where I need to be so I can see it. And then I can turn to the audience and say, okay, let's see what I can come up with, and can I do this? But then I figured out, well, geez, if I got to the place where I could pass through trade buy and do a grand right and left, well, gee, I could do a grand right and left right there. But on the third hand, promenade my partner. Okay? So I seem to challenge myself. And then what I do is I immediately write down these things, and I write them somewhere. Because if I don't do this again, I'm obviously going to forget it. So that's just kind of my quirky way of doing things.
That's a good exercise, Bill. Absolutely. Another thing, how to answer your question, is I have, like Cal does, I do the same thing as Randy and Ken. I have a program sheet outline, a program outline. In each tip, I have a few hints or reminders that will come up to say, I want to use this get out. I want to use that right and left grand get out, spin chain through get out to that, or this other action to that, or the split circulate 1.5 to a boom. And by seeing that, reading that, then I'll have the opportunity to have that recall. Another thing that we might start utilizing, and I use a little bit now, is on some of the music programs, the square dance programs on the laptop, they'll have a place where you can write cards. And I'll have some get-outs stored on that, and I just hit my control function key, and these ideas pop up randomly as I need them. And I can look at that and just kind of use those. That's another fashion or another way of doing that. I hope you've enjoyed the session. Ken, you want to say something to follow up? One more. We have another comment.
Ken Bauer from California. I don't read my material. I can't read fast enough to do that, and I always get on the wrong line. But what I've had is my material long enough that when I look at a page, years ago I could remember for maybe 2 or 3 minutes what was on that whole page. Now it's not quite that long. But anything that's worth calling is worth writing down. And then you have, because you'll use it later on. May I add a couple, not get-outs? I don't have anything original. I never did really come up with anything original. Not original. Anyway, a couple things that you're going to miss your corner. If you're doing all these things and you're going to try to remember them, you're going to miss that corner. So you're going to have the hedge promenade, and you've got to get them square so the heads wheel around. What do? You need some different ways to correct that. A couple of ways that I don't know where I got them from, but somebody, I wouldn't tell if I knew. But if you have the heads wheel around, you're out of sequence. Okay, everybody pass through. The ends fold, centers you turn back, and Alaman left. If it happens again, you can't use that too many times in a night. Heads wheel around, just the ends pass through. The ends pass through. The ends fold, centers pass through, right and left grand. Just a couple of simple things, get out, things like that. But trying to read and call is not good. Memorize that. Maybe you write it down, memorize it, and it'll give you a good idea. What can I do next? Thank you very much. What a nice session we had here. Wasn't it nice?
Thank you, Ken. Appreciate it. Thank you. Nice hand to all the panelists up front. We appreciate it. And a special nice hand to each and every one of you for adding and sharing to this program today. We appreciate it. Thank you very much. If you need the handout electronically, you can get it at the front desk or the main office. If you like the session, place this on your critique sheet if you wish to see it done again in future conventions. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your convention today.